Mr. Speaker, I rise to update this Honorable House on the work of the Legal Aid Office. Mr. Speaker, as the Minister responsible, I earlier submitted for the information of this Honorable House a copy of the Legal Aid Committee's annual report for the combined fiscal periods 2020 to 2022 in accordance with Section 18(2) of the Legal Aid Act 1980. This annual report brings the statutory annual report requirements for the Legal Aid Committee up to date. Mr. Speaker, by way of historical context, members will know that Bermuda's legal aid regime came into operation on the 1st of November 1980 pursuant to the Act. We are now into the 42nd year of the Legal Aid Office delivering quality legal aid services for Bermudians who may not otherwise be able to access quality legal advice and representation. This service stands ready for individuals who meet the statutory financial means test and request legal aid assistance for the range of legal services available under the regime. In doing so, it ensures fair access to justice, one of the hallmarks of a well-developed rule of law. Mr. Speaker, I expect that members will unanimously agree that without access to legal representation where warranted, access to justice is often denied. Hence, the government ensures this provision of service continues through challenging financial times, noting the exceptionally high cost of private sector legal services, which remain cost prohibitive for many of our citizens. The legal aid scheme promotes equitable access to justice to Bermudians at the lowest end of our socio-economic strata. The legal aid scheme, therefore, is an essential pillar of our legal and justice systems and ensures that qualifying persons are granted legal assistance as a right. Mr. Speaker, the annual report underscores the priority placed on representation for those charged with serious criminal offenses or offenses which may carry a sentence of 5 years or more of imprisonment. Under the heading Operational Statistics for the period 2020 to 2022, the report points out the broad scope of assistance delivered in the reporting period. Accordingly, it also details that the committee grants certificates to applicants who qualify as of right for criminal trials and appeals in the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and exceptionally before the Privy Council in England. In the exercise of its discretion, the Legal Aid Committee also considers and assigns legal aid certificates to applicants charged with criminal offenses of a less serious nature for appearances and trials in the magistrate's court where it is deemed to be in the interest of justice to do so. The provision of representation in the magistrate's court also includes offering representation for participants of the specialist courts such as the mental health court, drug treatment court, and DUI court. Mr. Speaker, Section 4 of the Act empowers the Legal Aid Committee to administer the internal administration of the scheme by reviewing legal aid applications, awarding legal aid certificates to eligible persons, and deciding the assignment of legal aid counsel, and managing the duty counsel roster of lawyers, giving real-time free legal advice to unrepresented defendants appearing in the lower courts. Mr. Speaker, the committee also has the responsibility to prepare and maintain a list of barristers and attorneys who are in active private practice in Bermuda to draw the names of counsels who are able and willing to represent applicants and assisted persons. This function ensures quality representation. The committee is comprised, Mr. Speaker, of 5 members in accordance with the first schedule of the Act, which also regulates the board's composition and procedures. Decisions of the committee, Mr. Speaker, are legislatively mandated, the fairness of the process is being steered by the requirement of a quorum majority vote. Mr. Speaker, the Senior Legal Aid Counsel has the responsibility for the day-to-day management, administration, and operations of the Legal Aid Office. During the reporting period, Ms. Susan Williams has returned to her substantive post as Senior Legal Aid Counsel after completing a period of reassignment in another ministry. The annual report further outlines the staffing complement at the Legal Aid Office. Presently, there are 3 administrative posts and 5 legal posts. Administrative posts are that of the office manager, accounts officer, and an administrative assistant. The 5 legal posts are as follows: the Senior Legal Aid Counsel, 2 Legal Aid Counsel, 1 Junior Legal Aid Counsel, and 1 Paralegal. The Legal Aid Counsel attend court and represent clients at a reduced and manageable cost to the public purse, as they are salaried employees. The junior legal aid counsel post is vacant and currently under active recruitment, and a contract has been offered to a qualified and suited Bermudian for the remaining legal counsel post, which has also been under recruitment. The in-house legal aid counsel model, which was implemented in 2018, made provision for increasing the internal resources to reduce overall costs to the scheme, originating from overutilization of private practice attorneys. It is noted that appreciable savings are expected to be sustained. Furthermore, during the period covered, recruitment efforts proceeded for the posts of legal aid counsel, junior legal aid counsel, accounts officer, and administrative assistant. Interim provisions were utilized to ensure service delivery coverage, notwithstanding the vacancies, by way of temporary relief hires, reassignments from within the public service, and temporary consultancies. The report confirms at page 12 that recruitment for the vacant legal aid counsel post is well underway and expected to be completed next month. Mr. Speaker, members may recall that the new framework for the assignment of counsel under the Legal Aid Act 1980 was officially implemented on 1st March 2019, having been developed the preceding year. The changes were devised alongside a host of cost-saving reform measures across government. In this instance, it was determined that what seemed counterintuitive to increase staff from 5 to 8 would actually reduce the operational costs of the scheme overall. The justification for implementing an in-house staff counsel model was in recognition that operational efficiencies and savings, institutional knowledge building, and providing opportunities for a cadre of specialized Bermudian defense lawyers would offer better delivery of services within public spending limits. The new model ensures that diversified legal services can now be delivered by in-house staff counsel in lieu of overutilizing outside counsel. The in-house counsel capacity continues to grow, Mr. Speaker, and although there is a hybrid of in-house and private attorney case assignments, measurable savings have been achieved to date. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 notwithstanding, cost savings year over year are evidenced on page 15 of the report. It shows the amounts paid to external counsel for representing legal aid clients. In the year ending 2018, before the cost saving scheme was implemented, that figure was more than $1.9 million. By the end of the last fiscal year, which is March 31st, 2022, that cost was reduced by more than 65%, down to under $700,000 at $663,360. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the report anticipates that costs will continue to trend downward in tandem with full implementation of the reform model. Data for this current reporting period reflected the following. In 2021, there were a total of 118 applications considered, of which 133 were approved and 55 were denied. Of these applications, 133 were criminal matters, 46 were civil matters, and 29 were matrimonial and domestic matters. By comparison, Mr. Speaker, in 2021-22, there were a total of 225 applications considered, of which 121 were approved and 104 denied. 130 of the applications were for criminal matters, 53 were civil matters, and 50 were matrimonial and domestic matters. Mr. Speaker, one of the indispensable benefits of the scheme as part of the Ministry of Legal Affairs and Constitutional Reform is the ability for advancing real-time reforms to laws that impact on the operation of our justice system. In doing so, issues of wider public interest, which come to light by legal aid counsel, can be highlighted for legislative reform priority. A recent example being reform to Section 519 of the Criminal Code 1907, which now place the defense and prosecution on equal footing as it relates to the number of challenges each side can make to potential jurors. The unconstitutionality of Section 519 of the Criminal Code was uncovered from advocacy originating from the Legal Aid Office and ultimately led to the passing of the Criminal Code Amendment Act No. 2, 2020. Mr. Speaker, upholding the cause of justice is not only predicated upon advocacy in criminal matters. The report details that legal aid certificates were also granted for varying civil, matrimony, and domestic proceedings over the period, especially in instances where there were vulnerable parties, such as landlord and tenant matters in the magistrate's court and family court proceedings involving care orders, supervision orders, custody, maintenance, and access. Similarly, For matters in the higher courts, legal aid certificates were granted for matters in the Supreme Court involving claims for damages arising out of negligence, divorce, and ancillary relief applications, and all such appeals to the Court of Appeal. Mr. Speaker, it is reported that timeliness and accuracy remains a priority at the Legal Aid Office with respect to its deliverables to the public. As reflected in its reported output measures, the Office maintains the ability to process applications for legal aid certificates within 14 working days. However, it must be emphasized that achieving this objective is almost entirely dependent upon whether applicants do their part to submit the required information in a timely manner. Process applications for temporary certificates, commonly known as emergency certificates, within 3 working days. This, too, is subject to applicants submitting all supporting financial information at the time of application. In addition, applications for temporary certificates are approved by the Senior Legal Aid Counsel once all supporting financial information is received. And finally, temporary certificates are ratified and extended to a full legal aid certificate or are discharged by the Legal Aid Committee within 28 days. Mr. Speaker, another major deliverable is the processing of external attorney fees. It is reported that the acquisition of a dedicated accounts administrator during the period under review has led to improvements in the processing of payments. Accordingly, the committee and the Legal Aid Office together are generally able to maintain the 30 working day commitment to taxation and processing of external attorney fees. Mr. Speaker, the chairman concluded the report by reminding us that all committee members are volunteers who give up their time and experience at the weekly meetings to carry out the very demanding mandate as prescribed in the Act. She extends her personal appreciation for committee members' hard work and dedication and applauds their commitment to quality service delivery during the period covered. Mr. Speaker, I once again conclude by amplifying the Chairman's expressions of gratitude to the Legal Aid Committee members for their selfless duty, the selfless duty they uniquely give for the preservation of access to justice in Bermuda. On behalf of the government and people of Bermuda, I commend the committee chairman, Michelle and Matt, for her steady stewardship during ongoing implementation of reforms to the model. It is further acknowledged that the unprecedented disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic took place during this reporting period. The committee members and staff alike are commended for the equally extraordinary adaptability and professionalism they have demonstrated during such trying times. Sincere thanks are also extended to all public officers, staff, duty counsel, consultants, law pupils, and others who have served to support the work of the Legal Aid Office. Each are deserving of recognition for their steadfastness in sustaining the delivery of legal aid services during a challenging past 2 years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.